Alright, so per the customer request, we are going to repair a broken, you can see it's broken right here. The stick is jammed all the way to the side. Yeah, so we're just going to replace this real quick. I say real quick, but it often takes a good amount of time. So when I first get a controller, make sure you have a heat gun, because a lot of this rubber needs to be heated up to be removed. So let's go ahead and take off the antennas. Step one. This is just to get them out of the way, because when you're fixing, you don't want them all flopping around. Alright, so we'll start with the top bumpers here. These ones are always fun. When you're heating them, make sure you don't stay in one spot too long. Make sure you don't get it too hot. Don't focus it on the screen. It's nice to have one of these tips that like focuses the heat. They tear really easy, so you have to make sure you just go little by little, because when they rip, you have to replace them. There we go. There's one bumper. Yeah, some of them come off easier than others. It just depends on how much glue they put. Yeah, so there we go. Off. We'll have to clean that glue up later, but now we can take off the back ones. So these the back rubber on each side, these ones don't take half as much effort as the other ones do. Pre-warm that one up, get it ready. These pry bars are priceless, because it's good to use them so you don't scratch up the side of the remote controller. They're not good in all parts of this disassembly, but some of them it's good to just like use it to get underneath here. Or you can use one of these ones, like a metal pallet or whatever, to get underneath one of the corners. Once you get one corner, there you go. So once you get a corner, that one took a little forever, but you can pretty much peel these ones back without too much worrying about ripping. It's only the top ones that rip, but if you have a little bit of glue, just hit it with a heat gun. It feels like the adhesive is different on this one, but oh. Just be careful around the toggle wheel here, because you don't want to rip it. And there we go. Opposite side, same thing, heat it up, get one corner going. And voila, it was that simple. Okay, so now you don't need the heat gun anymore for right now. You need to take off this front cover. When you do with the lanyard holder, it's actually easier if you open. There you go. You open it like this. Come in from the top right here. Find that groove. Pop one. Pop the other side. plastic pry tool. Put it in there, twist. DJI front cover. While you're at it, the back vent cap right here, you can pop that out. You have to go along the edge of it because the lanyard holder. Don't try to remove the lanyard holder. It's not worth it, and it'll just make your life a lot worse because those screws tend to strip. So do not remove the lanyard holder. You can pop all this stuff out. It's just, oops, there we go. Oh, there it goes. Okay, cool. So the back grill. Close the lanyard holder. Okay. Start the screw removal. Okay, so what we're gonna do is on the back of them, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Torx bits and 1 Phillips just on the outside back. So let's do that first here. It's best to have a electric screwdriver because there's a lot of small screws. This is actually, what size is it? It is a 1.5. Okay, so here's another thing. Make sure you pick up some of these cheap magnetic screw tin catchers, trays. There's a lot of different screws in here, so you're gonna have to pay attention to it. All of these Torx on the outside have grommets on them, like weatherproofing grommets on them. So sometimes when you pull them out, you'll see them. Sometimes they will stay down in the hole. Okay, well, you can see right there. There's one of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's pick up the back. Okay, so that is all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Torx screw holes. There's 1 Phillips here. I tend to just keep a screwdriver handy instead of changing out that bit. Also, what I do is one of these trays is for the outside shell because there's a lot more coming, and then the other tray is for the ones that you use the components when you're repairing inside. It's good to keep them separately. I think there are 5 different screw types inside of the controller, but depending on what you're doing, like for a right stick module, it's not going to be too bad. So next we have all the outside done right here. We're going to flip it around. We'll come back to the back side real quick. You'll see right here there's blue over the screw hole. That's some UV glue, so you just have to get in there with the screwdriver and just pop it out. And then these are Torx bits again, so all but that one is a Torx bit so far. Same screws as the back, they're all the same size. Alright, so now it's time to remove these back screws. So these are all Phillips head. They're actually pretty small Phillips heads. So what size is this? This says it's a 3.0. It's in like the smaller size, and that's still too big. So remember, all of this still is in the ballpark of the outside screws, because 110 for outside screws, 110 for inside screws. There's pull back the eject cover button. There's one. see, even right here, these screws for the top cover are smaller than the screws for this. So you'll be switching out screwdrivers for this process right here for sure. There we go. Put it in here. It's not the same size as the other one, so group them together. All the outside case Phillips, all the outside case Torx. There's one more screw behind the other side of the eject cover button. You're going to want to have a pair of tweezers handy, or multiple, because a lot of the times the screws will they'll loosen, but they won't come out of the physical hole, so you have to use the tweezers just to pull them out of the plastic. This top cover has completely different screws than the other screws. These are super small, easy to lose, so be careful with that. Now you can open the top cover, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws back here. If the screw is touching the black cover, the fan cover, do not take it off. It's only the screws that are drilled or screwed into the gray plastic, not the black cover. That looks like it is it. Close the back cover. Close the back cover. Now it's time to split the case. So, easiest way to do it, small long screwdriver. It's good to leave the lanyard holder on there because it's such good leverage. So you'll see 3 indentations along the bottom. You can just put the screwdriver in there and just barely bring it up. Actually, yeah, put the screwdriver in, pop up. It might take a couple tries because they don't catch every single time, but when you do get it, you'll notice it. Let's see. You know what? I missed one on the back. Don't forget this Torx on the back. That's what's keeping the front shell on. Now we can open the case. So we can use the little Phillips head like this. Put it directly under the case. You should hear it pop. It's usually pretty easy to pop it. Sometimes it will give you a little bit of a problem, but not too much, hopefully. There we go. Oh my goodness, that was literally the hardest one I've ever done right there. See, as long as you get it right to the right spot, it just opens up. Like, you just twist, see? Oh my gosh, I don't know why that was so hard. Alright, well, that was like a 10-minute ordeal. So, now, to open the case, it's like a clamshell. So the case is going to open this way, but if you open it too fast, then there's a ribbon cable that can be torn. So we need to be careful when we open it. So we'll just grab in there, just pull it apart evenly. You'll feel it release. Opens like a clamshell. Note the ribbon cable and the battery connection right here. So you'll grab on, usually like to hold the screen up, you grab onto the battery connection, pull it straight out. When you're doing this, make sure you have the smallest, finest Phillips head bit, because the ribbon cable has a bracket on the bottom of it. It's really hard to see. So I tend to take it off of the main board side because it's easier to put back on later. So over here you'll see it actually says main on it. The smallest Phillips head you've got. Take off this ribbon cable cover. Goes into the inside screw container magnetic thing of wonder thingy, and then do the other side. These screws are so small, and it takes off the bracket and the screw, put them in the middle. you can now remove the ribbon cable, and the two halves should be easier to set like apart from each other. But for right now, all of our stuff is right here on the right side. It's pretty simple to replace. So what we'll do is we'll fold back these power from the battery. Forgot to take off the joystick, so all I'm doing is the thumbsticks here. Let's see if we can get them off, or they might be jammed because it looks like the controller was, I don't know how this stick got broken. Okay, but there we go. Take off the end of the joystick or the gift. So you'll see along the side over here there's more of that blue UV glue. So what you can do is you can just take a small pair of pliers. These ones are a little overkill, but just make sure you don't hit the wires or the ribbon cable next to it. And once you get a chunk of it, it just pops off. It's very brittle. See? So you'll see little blue chunks like this if you squeeze them with pliers. They usually are brittle and they just snap right off. So there's one which frees up even more movement here. And then there's another, but it's really close to this ribbon cable right here. So best bet is to just remove that ribbon cable for right now. I don't know if you can see this from the camera, but there's more of that UV glue on top. You know what? Yeah, because I don't want to risk damaging that ribbon cable. So let's see. Oh, there we go. See, the glue is pretty brittle. So I just grabbed the end of it that was sticking out and the whole thing came off, which frees up the rest of the controller here, or thumbstick. We can go to the end, follow it around, unplug the cable, come back over here, try to feed it underneath these ribbon cables on the main that go to the main board. Basically, just pull it out. Everything goes through like wire guides and stuff like that, so it's really good to have, you know, tweezers to pull the wires out. And these tweezers are a little too fine. They're sharp. What we have to do is, this board is usually attached to this gimbal, so we have to take this off because it's all one piece. So yeah, we have to remove this other sensor from the broken part here. The whole thing, this whole carriage is going to end up being changed out, but we have to do it like this because it's broken. But we'll eventually take off the whole carriage because it comes as like one unit. Okay, so there we go. Put those screws down on the side. This is right control stick module BC.AG.SS000585.01. Oh, okay, so it's the whole bracket, it's the whole plastic piece. So we do have to remove these items. So that'll make it a little bit more in-depth. Okay, so you have to remove this whole plastic bracket that goes down here. So what we will do is have to remove this ribbon cable from the bottom button board right here. So we have to take off that UV glue. Little cutting pliers again, just be careful. A little bit of pressure usually pops it off. Sometimes it's a little bit more finicky. We just want to remove there we go. Sometimes you can just use your fingernail to like pick it off, but not today. Sharp tweezers for the win. Popped it off and flew across the room. So to remove a ribbon cable, you have to remove the glue. Then you use something small, or I don't have luck with flathead screwdrivers doing this because this plastic is pretty brittle, but this tweezers can just flip up that black lid, pull that ribbon cable straight out. Just use your fingers, don't use anything metal, don't scratch the cable, don't nick the cable. There we go, pull it straight out. Now that whole assembly is separate from it, so what we're gonna do is, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I think. Okay, so let's use regular. There's one Phillips in the corner. Just go around the bracket and remove them. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's funny because those 6 chassis screws are all one size, and there's an opposite one that's not. No, actually 7. There's 7 that are the same size, and there's one that's not. It's all the way in the bottom corner, and that is the super small one that we used numerous times already. And once we get this one out, the whole bracket should be loose. Okay, so let's see. Grab it by this way. It'll help if you flip this up and you grab by the edge right here. Grab the ring around it with your fingernail, and you can pop that ring off with the rubber. And then it should be loose in case unless I missed something here. Nope, there we go. So when this happens, you're going to have to transfer over all of these components that are part of the bracket itself. So this bracket, the brand new one, doesn't come with any of that, so you have to do it. Alright, so we can put the controller to the side. Make sure you don't lose any of these rubber button components. Here we are right here. So we need to take off this sensor. This button. So that's an extra 4 of the smallest screws on the thing. This is part of the ribbon cable that we detached earlier. I'm just going to put these ones right here because they're going to be used right now. If they go to the magnetic thing, they're going to be stuck to everything else. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I can get it here, 4. So these are just the buttons that are attached to that ribbon cable that we removed earlier. There are 4 screws, the smallest screws on the whole controller. A lot of the ribbon cables have like double-sided tape on the back of them, so don't pull them all hard, just like gently pick them up and remove them. So right here you can see this ribbon cable is actually stuck to the bracket. It's glued to the bracket, so just be gentle. Pull gently, pull slowly. I never thought about it, but you could probably hit it with 1 second of heat gun if it's fine enough. Oh yeah, that helped. It has to be saved for salvage to prove that we changed it out and it's no longer functioning. They have to see the damage. Alright, so now let's put this into the new one. Just line it up. Easier said than done. It's good to have magnetic screwdrivers on this one because these screws are so tiny you can't, it's just like threading a needle. Hands like you're drilling screws into plastic. There's no, sometimes it has to cut or bite into the plastic, so it's not so easy. 3 more to go. 2. Here's your line. And 1 more, just finish off the ribbon cable. Alright, so there they are. The ribbon cable's attached again. Make sure you stick it back on. Now, you just lower the... Actually, it's easier to feed the cable bundle underneath the ribbon cables that it was previously under. Not plugging it in yet, but just to get all that out of the way, because it's a pain, especially when it's all nice and neat before. Okay, so there we go. Line up the gimbal. Make sure. Ooh, actually, that's a close one. You have to replace all. If the buttons came out with it, you have to put those back in. And this one has to be covered again. This little rubber piece goes this way. Everything is like keyed so it can't go on the wrong way. Oh, that's the way to do it. Okay, well, there you go. So it's easier just to put it on the back side of this. When I took it out, it was stuck to here, so I figured there was a way, but I guess not. So let's just line this back up. Kind of goes in like the back. The back sits down first, and then the front slides in. I would suggest holding it and taking one of the regular size Phillips screws and putting it in the top corner, just to like hold it down so we don't lose that membrane and everything else is lined up. Regular size screws. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 that go around the gimbal structure. So there's one. Two. Every time I drop it. Sometimes it's hard to see, so I have a little headlamp because you're putting black screws into black plastic on a dark gray shell, so it's kind of gets easy to lose them. See if I can not drop it this time. Oop. There we go. There's the 4 corners. We still got a couple more to put in. Back up to the top where we tacked it down the first time. The last of the regular sized. Then we have our super small one. This is a super small screwdriver. Yeah, so the keys to this project are definitely time, patience, screw organization, and a headlamp or some kind of good lighting because this stuff gets rough. Time to put the ribbon cable back. All those screws are done. Ribbon cable goes out and back in. There's actually a line on the ribbon cable. Once you get to this point, you'll see that line. That line should line up pretty close to the furthest resting position, so you can see how it slid in. Oh, you can't. If you can see how it slid in right there, the line lines up. Tweezers, fold a little black hinge clip lock thingy down. Just tap it, make sure it's down. That's it. The right thumbstick has been replaced. Well, once we get this back together, we're gonna have to calibrate it, but There you go, the hardware's been changed, so we can double check, make sure we have everything. Yeah. Make sure that the stick is free of movement. Sometimes when you close them, something will get caught between here, and you don't want to have to reopen it again, so double check it. Okay, let's go ahead and start closing her up here. So let's go ahead and bring it up on one side hinge, see if I can show you this at a better angle. It's not too important right now to line it up because we need to put this ribbon cable back on here. So the ribbon cable goes back here to the main board where we took off the bracket and screws. This is probably the most difficult part about putting it back together, is just like balancing the lid while trying to plug a ribbon cable in, then trying to screw a screw into a bracket. So let's see how it goes. Very satisfying once you actually do manage to get it. Alright, so here comes the balancing act right now. Ready? I usually tilt. I don't know if you can see this, but I usually tilt it up where one part of the shell lays on my chest, and then I can have two hands free, because not only do you have to put a bracket down. Well, here's my little trick. I'll take the pliers that are super sharp and I'll put them through the bracket like this, and then I put the pliers into the screw hole, the opposite screw hole, and then I locate the other screwdriver that I seem to have misplaced. There you go, hiding behind the other thing. Take the opposite screw. And into the other side. The tweezers really help hold it stationary because it's not an easy one to do. Pull them out. And you start to wonder where your other screw went, and you realize it's sitting right here. Should have been in the magnetic tray. Back in. Don't put too much tension on this ribbon cable because I've ripped one myself. Luckily we had them in stock. So there we go. Hopefully that helps somebody. Just those sharp tweezers, they'll actually hold these brackets in. Now it's just about plugging the battery back in. Alright, let's close her up. Just line them up similar. It's actually pretty simple. I just sit them down like this, and it kind of seats into itself and makes sure that these aren't, the top little flanges aren't. Yeah, it seats in pretty easy. Squeeze it around the edges, make sure these aren't bound up. All done, all done. Sometimes you gotta push this tab back in this way. This one got kind of bent when I took it apart the first time, so. sure that right thumbstick is working. Cool. So before we close it up, let's verify it's working. Turn it on. Should have the same beep because it's not calibrated yet, but at least you can calibrate it now. So we hit begin, we hit the little gear on the top, you go to controller, calibrate, follow the on-screen prompts, okay, you have to do it 5 times, so there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5. And there we go. Device fixed. So now that we have fixed it, we'll go ahead and turn it off. We'll put the other things all back together real quick. All right, so put the rubber guard on. Okay, and then line up the ring that goes around it. There's notches and grooves that have to be lined up or else it won't go on, so there we go. Put the control stick back on. You know what? This control stick is damaged from when it fell. There is a, it looks like it's cross-threaded. That's why it was so hard to get off. So let me grab a brand new set. All right, got a new stick. Much better. While we're here, we can start putting the front screws in. They're the same as the back ones. Change back out to our 1.5 hex. Don't worry if it's not like closed all the way. Once you put these screws in, it'll button it down. There we go. One more. Flip it over. You know what? I don't like to have these on at the moment anyways, because when you flip it over, it kind of tweaks them. So there we go. Start putting all the hex around. Okay, now open the back cover. Grab a Phillips. Push back the eject button for the access. Let that go, and there goes another one behind that. Open the cover. There we go. Here's that other extra one over there. Put these final two into this light gray cover for where the dongle attaches. There you go, the main structure is put back together. We can now flip it over and put on the DJI front cover. Flip it over. Slide in the back vent. Luckily they snap in pretty quick. Might have to move the gimbal in order to snap it in. There we go. Okay. Close that. Alright, so the next thing we do is we have to reattach these rubber guards in the bumpers to the frame. So for that we use this 3M tape, which is just two sides of adhesive with some very thin paper between them. So it's kind of a tedious process because there's some glue on there already, but we just want to be able to basically cover all the areas with tape so that you get a nice good connection. So do something like this. A little long for right there, so we'll use it again up here. Alright, so we'll just peel back the backing paper. We're gonna have tweezers during this as well. I tried a bunch of different ways to do this, but this just seems to be the easiest because this paper is so flimsy that it just sticks to the surface quickly. Just get one corner of it. Grab this, line it up. It's not so tacky either that you can't like readjust it. So turn the start on the inside, roll it around the outside, and that side is done. Perfect. Alright, so both back covers are on. Let's put the top bumpers on and it'll be complete. Top bumpers the same thing, but if you have extra glue on the top, you should try to get it off because they won't sit flat. So whatever you have on there, try to peel off the majority of it. You don't have to get too crazy. Same principle as the other one, but you're gonna put a lot smaller pieces because it's just a weird shape. And if you don't put enough on, then it will not stick all the way around. So you might have some trial and error. This tape is 3N9448A double coated tissue tape. Doesn't look the best, but we'll go with it. There we go. And these two bumpers are not interchangeable, so make sure you line them up to the right one. That was the wrong way. That's the wrong one. There we go. Yeah, you'll see they only go one way. So here's one. There we go. Push it on there, give it a nice bond, and that's it. You can go ahead and put the gimbal sticks back on. Okay, there we go. And okay, so I can also put a pair of our 3D printed gimbal covers on there, so this won't happen again if it falls over. But other than that, we are all set, good to go.